I'd like to welcome you all here on the eve of April Fool's Day for the next talk in the Royal Tyrrell Museum Cooperating Society Speaker Series. Today, I'm personally happy to have my colleague Pavel Skutschas from St. Petersburg, Russia here for a week to give a talk and do some work with me on dead amphibians. Pavel is a St. Petersburg boy, born in St. Petersburg, although at that time it was still called Leningrad. He did all his schooling there, his bachelor's, master's, and PhD work at St. Petersburg State University. His PhD in 2005 was on late Mesozoic tetrapod assemblages of Siberia. And after completing his graduate work, Pavel stayed on at that university, first as a lecturer and now as an associate professor. His research interests are quite broad-ranging, focusing on Mesozoic and Paleogene amphibians and reptiles for the most part from Asia, although he has also dabbled in mammals a little bit. And done a lot of field work in the former, current Russia and former Soviet Russia in Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and in Siberia. And today he will be talking about his work on early salamanders from various parts of Asia, from the southwest and the northeast parts of Asia. So Pavel?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming, and I want to thank the Royal Tyrrell Museum Cooperation Society for the opportunity to have a talk here. Today I will talk about Mesozoic salamanders from Middle Asia, Kazakhstan, and Siberia. Salamanders, the order Caudata, are one of the three modern clades of amphibians, along with frogs and caecilians. In contrast to frogs and caecilians, salamanders retain very primitive external morphology. They have well-developed tail and well-developed limbs of nearly equal size. There are about 680 species of modern salamanders, which predominantly distributed in the northern hemisphere. Different people, first of all children, often ask me, as a vertebrate paleontologist, why I am mostly working not on dinosaurs or pterosaurs, but on fossil salamanders. My usual answer is that salamanders are the most unusual vertebrates. Indeed, salamanders are unique among tetrapods in many features. First of all, salamanders have enormous plasticity in life history pathways. Modern salamanders could express different morphotypes, namely neotenic and metamorphosed morphs. Neotenic morphs are aquatic and reach sexual maturity without undergoing metamorphosis. Different environmental factors may lead to a different life history pathway within one population or between populations of the same species. Facultative neoteny is a mode in which neoteny is an option alternative to metamorphosis, and obligatory neoteny is established in other taxa, where metamorphosis cannot be induced by any natural stimulus. Among tetrapods, salamanders have the highest regenerative capacity that includes limbs, eyes, spinal cord, and other organs and complex tissues. Salamanders possess giant genomes. It means that amount of DNA in haploid cell of salamanders is very high, and many salamanders have more than 10 times of our human complement of DNA. For more than a century, salamanders have been used as models for embryology, physiology, and natural history research. Some salamanders, first of all, axolotls, inspire humans in special ways. There are several appearances of salamanders in literature, and one of the best is Axolotl, short story by Julio Cortázar. In this short story, you can find a wonderful description of salamander behavior. You also can find in internet very funny song about axolotls and about choosing of life history pathway. And I suspect that axolotls were used for creation of Toothless from the How to Train Your Dragon cartoon. There are two major clades of modern salamanders, the Cryptobranchoideae and Salamandroideae. The Cryptobranchoideae includes Hinobiids, or the Asiatic salamanders, and Cryptobranchids, or the giant salamanders, such as North American hellbender. The Salamandroideae includes all other modern families, except probably Sirenids. Both Cryptobranchoideae and Salamandroideae form salamander crown group. Mobazal primitive extinct taxa form salamander stem group. There are several very important episodes in the early evolution of salamanders, but the most important were origin of the crown group salamanders, or in other words, transition from the stem group salamanders to crown group salamanders, and the split of Salamandroideae from Cryptobranchoideae. First salamanders appear in the fossil record in the Middle Jurassic, Bathonian, and the oldest salamanders are represented by both crown group salamanders and mobazal stem group salamanders. Stem salamanders differ from crown group salamanders in many aspects, including heavily sculptured skull roof, primitive morphology of the squamosal, and additionally, stem salamanders differs from crown salamanders in the absence of spinal nerve foramina in the first vertebra in the atlas, and in having heavily built, heavily ossified vertebra with a special pitted texture on their external surface. The split of Cryptobranchoideae from Salamandroideae is a very important event in evolution of salamander, but the timing of this event is still in dispute. Note that the fossil salamanders are much younger than the most of estimates from the molecular data. Early crown group salamanders, late Jurassic, early Cretaceous salamanders are represented mostly by crown group salamanders. For example, wonderful specimens of crown group salamanders were found in China, and these specimens document a significant early radiation of crown group salamander in the late Jurassic, early Cretaceous. Generally, all well-preserved crown group salamanders placed as basal members of Cryptobranchoid clade or Salamandroid clade. Salamanders underwent several episodes of significant dispersal and desertification, and one of the last was in the late Cretaceous thermal maximum. During that time of global warming, several modern salamander families appeared in the fossil record. For example, in the late Cretaceous deposits of North America, members of salamandroid families, Amphiumidae and Protoidae, and possible salamandroid family Sirenidae were found. Before a review of main findings of Mesozoic salamanders from Middle Asia Kazakhstan, and Siberia, I want to clarify geographic terms which I will use in my talk. First term is Siberia. Siberia is a large Asiatic territory which extends eastward from the Ural Mountains to the watershed between Arctic and Pacific drainage basins, and southward from the Arctic Ocean to the national borders of such countries as Kazakhstan, Mongolia, and China. Middle Asia is also Asiatic territory, which extends from Caspian Sea in the west to the Chinese border in the east, and from the Afghanian and Iranian borders in the south to the northern Kazakhstan in the north. Kazakhstan is situated well between Siberia and Middle Asia, and it's like a bridge between these territories. Together, Middle Asia, Kazakhstan, and Siberia comprise huge Asiatic territory. This Asiatic territory contains a lot of Mesozoic deposits which contains salamanders. Salamanders from this territory are of particular interest because of following reasons. Jurassic salamanders from Middle Asia and Siberia are among the first salamanders in the fossil record. The only records of late Cretaceous Mesozoic late Cretaceous salamanders in Asia are from Middle Asia and Kazakhstan. The sequences of Mesozoic terrestrial deposits containing salamander remains provides the opportunity to trace the regional evolutionary history of salamanders. Okay, now about salamanders from Middle Asia was unknown from the Middle Jurassic and late Cretaceous deposits. From the Middle Jurassic Balabansai Formation in Kyrgyzia, one of the oldest and the basal-most stem salamanders, Cacartus horonarius, is known. Material on Cacartus includes partial skulls, partial skull roofs, isolated bones. Part of this material was found during screen washing in 19th and later in 2000-2001. Revision of all available materials showed that Cacartus had a lot of plesiomorphic features, and this supports its basal position within the Caudata. Some of these primitive features, such as long and dentate pterygoid, are also present even in more basal Paleozoic amphibians, such as Dicerophoid temnospondyls. What do we know about biology of the most primitive salamanders? According to many morphological features, Cacartus was a neotenic and an aquatic salamander. Additionally, our paleohistological study revealed neotenic features in long bone histology of Cacartus, such as the presence of calcified cartilage even in the largest individuals. Moreover, we had found that bone histology in Cacartus is more complex than in modern crown group salamanders. Cacartus had the active bone remodeling process with the secondary osteons formations, like in some Paleozoic and Mesozoic amphibians and even sarcopterygians. No secondary osteons and no active remodeling process were found in modern crown group salamanders. Why crown group salamanders have a simple organization of the bone, and what was happening during transition from stem to crown group salamanders? The simplification of the bone structure could be the result of miniaturization during the transition from stem group to crown group salamanders. All stem group taxa were rather large salamanders compared with the most of Jurassic and early Cretaceous crown group members. Stem group salamanders had an estimated body length about 20-40 centimeters, whereas early crown group members usually had a smaller size. From the late Cretaceous deposits of Middle Asia, salamanders are known from several formations, but the main are Cenomanian Hadrakul Formation and Turonian Bisecti Formation. The principal localities of those formations are in a very beautiful Kizilkum Desert in Uzbekistan. From both formations, species of the crown group salamander Euskafirpiton are known. Euskafirpiton have several unique characters which are not known in all other salamanders, such as the presence of the subhorizontal ridge on the external surfaces of premaxilla and maxilla, and very long, well-developed hypophysis, lower process, on the atlas and anterior trunk vertebra. Some species of Euskafirpiton, some specimens of Euskafirpiton, like this three-dimensionally preserved skull, clarified the phylogenetic position of Euskafirpiton. In many features, Euskafirpiton is similar with the giant salamanders and can be referred to this family. Like modern giant salamanders, so Euskafirpiton is here. Euskafirpiton was rather large, with an estimated body length up to approximately 45-50 centimeters, but smaller than the modern North American hellbender. Like the hellbender and other cryptobranchids, Euskafirpiton was neotenic and aquatic form. The second late Cretaceous Middle Asian salamander genus is Nesoptriton, which is known also from the Bisecti Formation. The cryptobranchoid-like morphology of the atlas and other vertebrae suggests that Nesoptriton is a basal crown group salamander with possible cryptobranchoid affinities. Nesoptriton was a rather small salamander, comparable in size with the modern Asiatic salamanders or some members of salamandrids. It was like a small newt. In all late Cretaceous formations in Middle Asia, except Bisecti Formation, salamanders are represented only by cryptobranchid Euskafirpiton. The vertebrate assemblage of the Bisecti Formation in Uzbekistan contains two salamander taxa, the possible cryptobranchoid Nesoptriton and the cryptobranchid Euskafirpiton. Next region is Kazakhstan. Mesozoic salamanders from Kazakhstan are known from the late Jurassic and late Cretaceous deposits. The first Mesozoic salamander to be described from Asia was the basal stem salamander Karaurus sharovi from the late Jurassic Karabastau Formation. Karaurus sharovi is known by a well-preserved, nearly complete and articulated skeleton. This is the most anatomically complete example of a stem salamander, and thus it's very important for documenting the morphology of stem salamanders, documenting the primitive salamander condition, and documenting character state transformations within Caudata. Kakartus from Kyrgyzstan and Karaurus from Kazakhstan comprised the late Karaurida. Note that both Kakartus and Karaurus were neotenic forms, and neoteny is probably the ancestral life strategy for salamanders. The most taxonomically diverse Mesozoic Salamander assemblage in Kazakhstan is known from the late Cretaceous Bostobe Formation. Currently, 3 salamander taxa are known from the Bostobe Formation. First taxon is, again, the cryptobranchid Eoscapher pattern. The second is crown group salamander Bishara baca, and the third is indeterminate salamander. Bishara baca is known only by the first vertebra, the atlas. This fragmentary specimen seems not very exciting, but it is very similar in many aspects to that of modern North American proteid mud puppy. And if Bishara baca is a proteid, then it is significant for the following reasons. It is the oldest occurrence of proteids in the fossil record. It is the first salamander family common to the late Cretaceous tetrapod assemblages of Asia and Euramerica, and it is the first extant salamandroid family in the late Cretaceous of Asia. Among other late Cretaceous formations of Kazakhstan, indeterminate salamanders were found in Turonian Zhirkindek Formation, and cryptobranchid Eoscapher pattern was found in Campanian Darbaza Formation, and this is the youngest record for Eoscapher pattern. The Cinnamanian Campanian vertebrate assemblages of Middle Asia and Kazakhstan are characterized by dominance of the cryptobranchid Eoscapher pattern. Other salamanders are rare and are known only from the Turonian Bisikti Formation in Uzbekistan and from late Santonian, Campanian Bostobe Formation in Kazakhstan. This is very different from the late Cretaceous of Euramerica, where salamandroids were dominant and cryptobranchoids appeared only in the Cenozoic. Next region is Siberia. Some localities in Siberia are easily accessible, some not. And paleontologists in this case have to use helicopters, tracked all-terrain vehicles, or even canoe. Mesozoic salamanders from Siberia are known from Middle Jurassic and early Cretaceous deposits of 2 formations. Middle Jurassic Batonian Itat Formation and early Cretaceous Elec formations. Main localities of both formations are situated geographically close to each other, and we have an opportunity to trace the regional life history of salamanders. The main locality of the Itat Formation is Berezov's quarry. Concentration of bones in bone-bearing layers of the Berezov's quarry locality is very high, but salamanders remains are relatively rare. The Berezov's quarry locality was found by Sergei Krasnoludsky in 2001. Sergei Krasnoludsky is a local sculptor who is very interested in vertebrate paleontology, and he has found a lot of wonderful fossils, including dinosaurs and salamanders. The first expedition to the Berezov's quarry was in 2007. That expedition was rather small, but all members were strong enough for a lot of digging and screen washing. Later, German participants joined to us, and our expeditions became international. Many important microvertebrate specimens, including one of the oldest salamanders, were found. The first described salamander from Berezov's quarry is Urupia monstrosa. Urupia is a stem group salamander according to its primitive atlantal and vertebral morphology. The specific name, monstrosa, was chosen for this salamander because its relatively large size. Estimated length of Eurupia is about 40 centimeters. Later, remains of two more salamander taxa were found in Berezovsk quarry, Berezovsk salamander A and Berezovsk salamander B. Berezovsk salamander A clearly is a primitive basal stem salamander. The third salamander taxon, Berezovsk salamander B, was known by several fragments of dentaries. And that dentaries were very small and generally resemble that of crown group salamanders. During the first stage of study of Berezovsk salamanders, we proposed the following phylogenetic positions for our taxa. Eurupia and Berezovsk salamander A are stem salamanders, while Berezovsk salamander B is a possible crown group salamander. Eurupia is remarkably similar to another stem salamander, namely Marmororpeton, from the Battonian forest marble formation in England. Moreover, salamanders from both formations are represented by two stem taxa and one presumable crown taxon. Both Middle Jurassic Battonian vertebrate assemblages of the Itat formation and the forest marble formation are similar to each other, especially in salamander, frog, and mammalian components. This similarity suggests that Middle Jurassic Battonian vertebrate faunas of Europe and Western Siberia were homogeneous. Early Cretaceous Siberian salamanders are known from the Aptian-Albian Ilek formation, and the main salamander locality of this geological unit is Shestakova locality. The composition of vertebrate assemblage of Shestakova is heterogeneous and includes vertebrates with Jurassic affinities. On the basis of the presence of vertebrates with Jurassic affinities, a hypothesis that Western Siberia was a refugium for Jurassic relics appeared. Only one small-sized crown group salamander, Keatriton lishinsky, is known from the Ilek formation. According to the type material and newly collected material, Keatriton lishinsky are characterized by cryptobranchoid-like structure of atlas, trunk vertebra, and femur, and this similarity indicates possible cryptobranchoid affinities. This material is rather fragmentary, but Keatriton lishinsky is the only early Cretaceous salamander from Asia which was found outside China. So, phylogenetic position of Keatriton probably here, inside cryptobranchoid clade. During several years, I was trying to answer two questions. Is diversity of salamanders of the early Cretaceous Shestakova locality limited to one taxon? And who is intriguing Berezovsk salamander B from the Middle Jurassic Berezovsk locality? The first answer came in 2014 from the very small box with a label, nothing interesting from Shestakova locality. In this box, I found a fragment of a relatively large salamander trunk vertebra. This trunk vertebra is resemble to that of Jurassic stem salamanders, including Eurupia, in being relatively large, heavily ossified, and in having specific pitted texture on the vertebral surface. I identified this specimen as a stem salamander. The absence of stem salamanders in any Asian Cretaceous localities except Shestakova supports that Western Siberia was a refugium where relict basal salamanders survived. The finding of a relict basal salamander in the early Cretaceous of Western Siberia allows making the following conclusions. Stem salamanders coexisted for approximately 40 million years with crown group salamanders, and such lengthy temporal coexistence of stem and crown group members is not known for the other living amphibian clades, not for frogs, not for Sicilians. In the same year, 2014, during sorting of washed concentrate, new material on Berezovsk salamander B was found. And this new material clarifies the phylogenetic position of Berezovsk salamander B within the Caudata. When I started to work with this material, I had a strong feeling of déjà vu. There was only one thought in my head. I have seen this material before. Indeed, material from the Middle Jurassic Berezovsk quarry was nearly identical to material on Kiatriton Lishinsky from the early Cretaceous Shestakovo locality. Morphologically similar dentaries, morphologically similar atlases, and morphologically similar postcranial bones. Therefore, we consider Berezovsk salamander B as a crown group salamander of the genus Kiatriton. Both the finding of the relict basal salamander in the early Cretaceous and the finding of a new species of Kiatriton in the Middle Jurassic suggest that the early Cretaceous Kiatriton Lishinsky was also a relict salamander, provide new evidences that Western Siberia was a refugium where vertebrates with Jurassic affinities survived, and shown that salamander of the genus Kiatriton had a very long evolutionary history, about 40 million years. The presence of salamander taxa of varying grades of evolution in the Middle Jurassic of Siberia, such as stem salamanders and crown group salamander Kiatriton, indicates that the split of crown group salamanders from stem group salamanders took place well before the Bathonian. Moreover, if Kiatriton is a cryptobranchoid salamander, then the split of salamandroids from cryptobranchoids also took place before the Bathonian. These suggestions are in accordance with results of studies of other Jurassic salamanders from other regions, and in accordance with, generally in accordance with molecular data. Mesozoic salamanders from Middle Asia, Kazakhstan, and Siberia do not answer all questions about early evolutional history of salamanders. Our knowledge about them like a small part of a very big puzzle. But now we know that the oldest and the most primitive salamanders were neotenic and aquatic and had complex organization of the bones. The oldest salamander taxa were similar in geographically distinct parts of the earth. We know that the split of crown group salamanders from stem group salamanders took place well before the Bathonian, that salamanders in western Siberia were not changing during approximately 40 million years, and that in the late Cretaceous of Asia, the most common salamanders were relatives of the modern hellbender, and that the ancestors of the North American mud puppy could origin in Asia. Before acknowledgements, I have a personal request to all paleontologists. Please find Mesozoic salamanders in Mongolia. So many wonderful fossils, including dinosaurs and frogs, were found in Mongolia, but not salamanders. And I hope that these future salamanders from Mongolia will be not members of genus Euskapherpeton, enough Euskapherpeton. I thank all members of numerous expeditions in Siberia, in Middle Asia, and in Kazakhstan. I also thank Jim Gardner for discussions and helpful comments on Mesozoic salamanders from Middle Asia, Kazakhstan, and Siberia, and I thank the Royal Tyrrell Museum Cooperation Society. Thank you for your attention.